that your baby boy would someday walk on water. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy would I messed up that song? This child that you've delivered is Palestinian. Oh, Mary, did you know? Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Happy all types of holidays. Happy Festivus. And of course, happy Yalda for all the Iranians out there.
That was beautiful, brother. That was beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Quite appropriate as well, both for the times. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. Of course, happy Canadian Christmas to you. I know you guys all like to have your own thing separate, but yeah, it's a festive miracle. This is our holiday episode, as you can see from our Christmas sweaters. Talk about yours. What's yours about?
Mine is this is Santa's mugshot. This is after he's been arrested for unlawful entry. So it's a risky business being Santa Claus, right? It's a risky business.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And yourself,
Yeah, I got more of the Marvel look, so I got
nice.
Deadpool. Yeah. You know, because we talk about death a lot. So
well, we also talk about Marvel a lot.
There you go. We combine the two.
Yeah.
And it becomes a Christmas sweater. But yeah, it's a good time. I think my favorite time of the year is this time of the year, honestly. Not because it's my birthday month, but also because it's just like a season of like people kind of pause on all their bullshit that they're dealing with and all the differences they're dealing with.
For the most part.
For the most part. But enough people do it to the point where you feel it. And I feel like I'm feeling it. And of course, going to all these stores and you hear the Christmas music. I don't know. There's something about Christmas music. I used to be in a Christmas Carol group, which was fun. And little quick anecdote. I used to sing for this club called the Red Hat Society.
My goodness. Did you guys wear masks and not use your real names? Sounds a little bit.
Well, no, we didn't wear the red hats. The group that would hire us wore the red hats.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. So it was kind of like we were the performers, but we were also seeing a performance at the same time. But they were there was this group of elderly ladies, and it was the Red Hat the Red Hat Society, and it was up in Sacramento, and I think they have them in other parts of the country as well. But I had a bunch of old ladies hitting on me. It was great.
There's something nice about that, isn't it? Like, I don't know what it is. There's a pleasantness about harmless little old ladies flirting with you. I think that just it boosts the confidence, but it's also kind of safe and sweet, right?
That's right. I dated every one of them. It was great.
Nice.
And
nice.
Red Hat Society meant something else after I was done. But it was great. It was all jokes aside, it was a cool little thing we were doing in like the 2010s. But yeah, man. So anyway, do you have a fun Christmas story, or do you have anything that you remember? Like,
you know what? This time of year for me, it's been obviously growing up here in Canada, you celebrate Christmas, right? Like it's a fun time of year. My parents kind of did it for me really as a kid, because I was the youngest one. I was born here, and my friends would be celebrating, so we would always kind of celebrate as kids, but they were always very Iranianified, if that's not even a word, but you know what I mean, right? So we kind of would give our own twist to certain things, and the food is always interesting. There's you make turkey, but is saffron all over the turkey. You know, you've got stuffing, but there's like zereshk in the stuffing. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
all kind of our own little way of it. But yeah, no, it's no real crazy Christmas stories. I find that for me though, Yalda has always been or at least in the last 30 years or so, has been the most important thing for me. I will never fail to celebrate Yalda. I find that a lot of us in the diaspora, we kind of get lazy with this holiday. We love Nowruz because it's, you know, there's a lot of fun parties and all that sort of thing going on. I think a lot of people don't really quite understand where Yalda comes from and the significance of it so much when you get raised here.
Mm.
And so it tends to fall to the wayside, but it was always important to me. I remember last night I was speaking to my family about this, about how I remember one year we were in Houston. We went on a Disney cruise for my daughter's birthday, and then we came back, and it was Yalda when we were back. And I wanted to have an impromptu Yalda, so I'm like going to different 24-hour shops and like corner stores, trying to find nuts and fruit and candles and whatnot to
Yeah.
celebrate. But it's always important to me. I think it's a beautiful celebration, and it's one of the true um, Iranian celebrations that we still have, right? One of the few. One of the
Yeah,
few.
and for our non-Farsi speakers, Yalda is the winter solstice, and
Mm-hmm.
why I wonder why that is. I mean, you're the history guy. Why is it celebrated so? And why is there so much emphasis on this holiday for Iranians?
Yeah, it's you know what? It's our celebration of light, and so there's a lot of different cultures at this time of year. So we had Hanukkah ending a few days ago, last week. That's the Jewish celebration of light. You've got Diwali that is usually around this time of year.
Mm,
You've got Christmas, which in essence is a celebration of light, right? And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then definitely Yalda, which is kind of the originator for all of this, was a celebration of light, and
mm,
it literally is the longest night of the year, right? When we hold Yalda, and every day after that, the days become longer, and so it's kind of a way of, you know, the ancient Persians would basically stand vigil that night and light candles and regale with poetry and stories and music and dried fruit and nuts, because it's in the winter, or it's the beginning of the winter. Everything has to be preserved for that sort of thing. And so yeah, it's a beautiful celebration. As part of it, they would also bring in boughs from trees outside and
mm.
decorate their house uh, with branches and evergreens and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's a beautiful celebration. I love it. I absolutely love it. Do you guys do the whole, like, do you do the Fala Hafez? Because I know that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So Hafez is a very prominent, very famous Iranian poet. And he's got this series of, really what they are. They're poems, but they answer questions that you may have, right? And so the tradition. Are you familiar with this one, Pej?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
do
yeah.
this? Yeah. So you ask a question of the new year, of the coming year, and the days getting lighter and going towards the spring. So it's considered the beginning of getting ready for the new year, and you ask a question, right? Like, will I win the lottery? Things like that. Hopefully something a little bit deeper than that. But um, and then you read the poem, and really with the words in the poem, you see whether or not you're going to have a good year. Mine were good last night. Can't say I believe in it, but they were all fairly positive. Apparently I need to be careful who I associate with, so we're going to have to talk about whether or not we're going to continue working together, Pej, because apparently I have to avoid certain people in the coming year.
That's funny.
That
I
may be
also prayed for that, and it
really
yeah, that's I was
anything.
like Faiz, how do I get rid of Mo?
Yeah.
he just keeps giving me problems. We can't agree on anything. He has a lot of comments.
Just an ass. How do I get?
Yeah.
And then yeah, and the tail end was I'm basically going to achieve and get everything I want this year. So I need to start wanting things. I guess I need some
Yeah,
ambition
you
this year
do. You
because
should.
apparently I'll be getting everything I want. So
Hell
how about
yeah.
you? How was yours? How was yours?
Well, growing up, it was I guess now, like as an adult, we don't really do it as much, but we did do the Hoffa stuff when we were like having a family reunion, or like when we would have like around this time. And I know my cousins are a lot really into this, and they would have the fires there, and we would go around and we each like pick a page, right, and then they would
Hmm.
read that the quote that's on that page. And I think I'm kind of like, I'm not crazy as far as like how much I believe in it, but I also know that, you know, it's been beneficial for a lot of Iranians, and it's been helpful, and it's been um I guess like a source of calmness and reassurance.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I took the whole Faiz portion of Yalda. I know, I remember as a kid we would do and this was more in Iran, but we would have Corsi, right? Now
Hmm.
that was a fun thing we always had.
Do people know what that is? For the majority of my life, I didn't quite understand what that was and just thought it was a really bad fire hazard. But do you
It
want to?
was.
Yeah, yeah.
We would burn the house and then we'd put a blanket over it. No,
Nice.
so Corsi is basically you have some sort of furnace um, that's safe, obviously. You put in the middle of the living room, and for some reason we had like a 30 by 30-foot blanket. I don't know where we found this blanket, but we had it, and it was, and what you would and we would do is we would place that blanket, and I'm simplifying the procedure here, but we would put that blanket over that furnace, and the furnace would basically be in the center of it. And within like 20 minutes, when you would put your legs under that in the winter, it was like almost like a heat massage. It was
Mm,
really comfortable. And we would have like little body pillows all around, and then we would all just pass out. We would
mm.
just sleep around this Corsi, and it was we would share stories. And so it was um it was a really cool memory for me. My grandparents were it, I remember them being there, and rest in peace, grandma, grandpa. But yeah, it was it was fun times. It was good times. Like we had like I think 20 people around it. So
Mm.
you said you guys didn't do it, or you did?
We didn't in Iran once. We did. Usually there's a table too, isn't there? Like that's
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
raised a little bit. Yeah,
It's like a table that goes on top of the furnace, and then it's got usually a hole in the middle. But yeah, and then because obviously this has been going on for years before it was electrical furnaces. It was real fire and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then you kind of have your fruit and nuts and little treats and snacks and usually a drink or two sitting around there. And yeah, 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 yeah.
It
I
was.
love it. Like that's so many of our celebrations are like that, right? Like it's all about community and getting together and enjoying the time together. Isn't a lot of that commercialism? I know in the last 20 or 30 years, the commercialism has kind of bled into these celebrations.
Yeah.
But yeah, 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 yeah. No, they're all about nature. They're all about family. They're all about friendship. Yeah, yeah,
Did you guys do the
fantastic.
when it would snow? Did you guys do the well, obviously you know what snow is. Did you guys get it was like some sort of sorbet that my grandmother would make with snow. It was like,
No.
yeah, so she would take, so as soon as like you had like 4 or 5 uh meters of snow, which was a lot, and she would go out there and just scoop up um a bunch of fresh snow before all the stray dogs got to them. And then and then she would pour that in, and then she would add some sort of syrup, and it would become like milky but sweet. I couldn't explain it to you, but I didn't. I mean, I don't know if you're googling it or not, but it was. It was delicious. It might have been something that was like a family recipe, or it might have been like a regional thing that was
Hmm.
happening. But it was I remember having those, and it was delicious. And it was like under that corsi, and then you would have that. It was like a perfect balance of like hot and
So
cold.
it's almost like a snow cone, right?
Almost,
Like
yeah,
this.
almost. But it was
Yeah.
more milky. Like it got more milky than like a snow cone. Snow cones, I feel like are more,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? They're more watery and more icy. But this was like, yeah, it's some sort of texture was added to it. I don't know what it was,
Yeah,
but
it's so I guess in Iran they call that yachtar, right? Like it's sort
okay,
of it's
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
yeah.
Ice in
That's
heaven.
such yeah, or
Yeah,
heavenly ice or something.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
which it is, right? It's awesome. But it's basically like shaved ice. But did you know that so a lot of people believe that ice cream was first invented in China in about 600 AD, the Tang Dynasty. But there's a lot of stories, um, and this isn't Persian dad claiming everything to be Iranian, but it actually is. We have accounts of this from back at 500 BC, and
Oh wow.
there was a Persian king who wanted a treat, basically, and they sent people to the mountains to get ice, right? And they shaved that ice, crushed it, and then would add grape juice or fruit juice and that sort of thing. And that was kind of the beginning of ice cream.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's
So
funny because
the
like,
accounts go back.
yeah, it's like we just eat things and we don't. I don't really think about where it comes from because I'm not responsible.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool that we have one of us that does look up this stuff. Yeah, I mean,
So let me tell
obviously,
you why. Hold on, let me tell you why. This is an interesting fact, and I'm way past wanting to do this. So the idea is out there. If someone else wants to do it, with it. For the longest time, I wanted to open a restaurant, like a almost like a um, ancient cuisine restaurant,
mm,
and I had
mm,
sourced recipes for everything from beer to food to different rice dishes and whatnot, from different empires in the Middle East. So like actually going through historical archaeological data and finding like a recipe for beer from ancient Egypt, or
nice.
finding a recipe for different kinds of food and whatnot. And yeah, it was for the longest time, it was a total thing for me. Like I wanted to know where all this stuff came from, because I thought it would be a great concept, right? Going to a restaurant where the foods have a line back. Obviously, you're going to flare it up a little bit because I'm sure it all tasted absolutely disgusting. Um, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's cool. So what happened? You don't want to pursue it
Mm.
anymore, or is that
No,
something?
never got the investors, and now I'm kind of out of it. And I can't see myself getting back into the restaurant biz. That was a different life. That was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
over 17, 18 years ago when I was doing that.
Listen, restaurant business is hard, man.
Mm.
I have my uncle had a restaurant, and I mean, it took all of his life literally just to run it. And yeah, so maybe you couldn't have done this podcast. So selfishly, I'm glad that you didn't open a restaurant
Yeah.
and make a lot of money. But but yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for people in the culinary businesses. That's very impressive. Uh, I was going to mention, should we do another Christmas song, or should we go into some more history of even these holidays and where they came from?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So why do we do that? I think this is incredibly appropriate. We've already touched on some stuff already, but you know what? There is a new segment that I want to start doing. I don't know if we're going to do it every week, but I think it's very appropriate for today, and I think it's a fun one to do. And it's called
And now it's time for another segment of You're Welcome with Mo and Pej. You're welcome.
So basically what this segment is we're going to look at different either inventions, innovations, ideas, things like that we can trace back to Iran, the Iranian people, and it's kind of a bit of a you're welcome
Uh,
for this. And so for today, it's you're you're welcome for Christmas.
yeah.
Um, you're welcome for Christmas. And so, we kind of talked about Yalda, right? And
Hmm.
Yalda was first celebrated at around 500 BC.
I'm just playing
the time
background
of
music to your
Darius.
history
Yeah,
lesson.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. Darius the Great. And this celebration, because of the constant, like, it's funny, when in school, I remember asking this question of myself, and then when I was older and I started doing research about the Persian Empire in Iran, I got the answers. But we always would talk about the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, and then you've got, the Chinese empires and dynasties. No one really wondered what was going on in the middle there. Well, there was an empire, and that empire was constantly warring with the other empires in the region. And so there was a lot of Roman Persian wars. And so usually what would happen back then is you would have this exchange of culture, right?
Yeah.
Happening too. And generally speaking, as part of the peace treaties, they would exchange soldiers. So a certain number of Persian soldiers would then go to Rome. A certain number of Roman soldiers would then come to Persia, and they would fight for the new empire. And where they were was a way of kind of establishing that peace and whatnot. Interesting fact: those Persian soldiers that actually went to Rome were part of the ones that were used to conquer Britannia. And so there's a lot of actual Persian reliefs and stuff on the walls of caves and on the walls of some of the walls in the old forts, where you see they're wearing Persian clothes, but it was the Roman army. But we'll talk about that some other time. But
Wow. Okay.
yeah, up in the north.
Yeah.
And so what was happening is this celebration that we had, which was associated with Mehr or Mitra, that we would call in Iran, which was the goddess of the sun, right? And we would have this celebration. This culture and this celebration kind of bled into Roman culture through the military, right? There were some key changes when it kind of moved over. Mitra or Mehr became Mithra or Mithras. Went from being a goddess to a god. And you had the establishment of this religion called Mithraism. Okay. And what happens is Mithraism really becomes a major player in Rome between the 1st and the 4th centuries. Okay. And it was primarily the religion of the military elite, and the politicians, and Christianity at the same time was also growing in Rome, as you know, right? Yeah. And that was more the religion that the priestly class and the emperor and whatnot was behind. And then when Emperor Constantine in 313, when he's faced with, and there was a lot of conflict between the cult of Mithra and the cult of Christ, basically, is what they would call it at the time. And so they would fight amongst them between each other, and there was a lot of persecution. The emperor needed to select a religion because both of these monotheistic type religions had kind of grown, and he needed to make a choice. Well, he found that the military, giving them more power, would have been dangerous, right? And so what they did is he chose Christianity. Now, and then they started taking a lot of the stories from Mithraism, the virgin birth. There was a resurrection. There was a lot of stories of even turning water to wine. Like, a lot of these things were in the Mithraic religion, and then they actually brought those into Christianity because they wanted to bring everyone in. Then there's a series of persecution and basically inquisitions, and they all but get rid of Mithraism in Rome, and Christianity becomes a predominant religion. And then you've got the rise of, the Roman Catholic Church and everything that kind of comes after that. And so really Christmas gets its roots in Mithraism, and in Rome, the celebration of Saturnalia, which is what was celebrated on the winter solstice. Even Boxing Day has its connections back to Saturnalia, the day after Christmas, and what they would do there. The Roman, so the slave owners on Boxing Day, the day after Saturnalia, they would kind of do a bit of a reverse with the slaves, and they would serve the servants and the slaves. They would give them their old clothes. They would serve them food. So it was a day for them. They would give them gifts and whatnot on that one day of year. So
Wow.
yeah, so Christmas has this deeper, so it really goes all the way back to this celebration, and it absolutely is a celebration of light, which is what I was alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
um that's what Christianity is. And if you listen to the music, and if you listen to the songs about Jesus, and if you listen to the songs about, you'll see that there is a lot of those undertones of that celebration of light, and all that. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I had no idea. I wonder if our listeners can chime in on this. Who um, knew about this? Who has more info on this? Who has uh, maybe from other parts of the world that their experience from what Christmas meant to them in general, and then also historically, and because I'm always curious, like how this is taught right across the world,
Mm.
because there's obviously a lot of um, people who are involved who want to influence the narrative of the story, but I'm wondering how where all of that is traced back to for other parts of the world, like the Romans and all that, for example. Um, when you're mentioning this, and maybe you have more info on this as well, more modern history. Uh, but I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mm.
the song "Silent Night," it uh, was used during battles and during and I want to say World War II time period, where
Mm.
it was when the camps of all these different nations were at war. They When they were basically resting during Christmas time, they were singing this song, and what ended up happening is these camps could hear each other, right? And what ended up happening was it became this thing where, let's say, like the Austrian camp would be singing it in their language, and then you would get the French camp singing it in their language, in French,
Mm.
obviously. And then so there was like moments. Again, I'm not sure what the time period of it, but I know that this was something that had happened, and it was like a moment of hope, essentially, and a moment of like peace, because the song "Silent Night," that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I feel like that's a good segue. But do you know the do you recollect any of that, or do you
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Silent Night, um, it's was it Austrian? I think it was an Austrian priest
okay,
who ended up writing it, Joseph Moore.
okay,
Um, and it's like about 300 years old, a little over 300 years old.
yeah,
Or no, 200 and but yeah, 220 years old or so. So it was 1816 when it was written, and it was after the Napoleonic War. So you're completely right. And what it was, he's in this town, and he finally saw the calm after the war, after
yeah.
years of
I got the war
devastation.
wrong, but yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, but you're right. No, you were right though, because he was written then, and it was written inspired by the Napoleonic War and the fact that things are now calm and still and peaceful. But then it spread very quickly and was translated into multiple languages, hundreds of
mhm,
languages. And you're absolutely correct. In World War I and World War II, during Christmas time, this was a song that they would sing when there was like an armistice, or there was a calm, or they wanted to stop the fighting for a while, and all that sort of thing. But yeah, it's
and I
yeah.
really like this song, and I feel like it's a very uh, first of all, the fact that it's been evergreen for all these hundreds of years, it's that's special, because you don't get, there's not like, there are no bangers from like the 1800s that we still listen to, you know what I mean? But like, but, but this one seems to have stood the test of time. This, and like, the Mozart's, which the kids know as "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," like that melody is actually, a Mozart melody. But it's still relevant. But um I just I really like the song, and I'd love
Can you
to.
play it for us?
Yeah, I was gonna sing a little bit of it.
Please.
Today is request hour by me for me. Yeah. Um, and of course, if you have a favorite Christmas song, let me know. Hopefully, I can play it. But it goes. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Thanks, brother. That was beautiful.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's fun. And I was always curious, did they make this song in Farsi as well? I'm sure there is a translation out there, but
There must be. We'll have to try to find it. Yeah. There
yeah,
must
just
be, I
because.
think.
Yeah, and I also wonder like the rhyming schemes, how it would work with this in Farsi. Like I'm trying to translate it right now in my head, and it's like, I'm sure there's like old Farsi that would probably
Sound
look.
better? Or like
Yeah,
real Farsi and not Arabic Farsi,
right, right.
right? Because yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So another interesting song. Here's another fun fact about Jingle Bells. Christmas song,
Oh yeah.
yay or nay? Is it a
I mean,
Christmas
it's
song?
fine. Yeah.
No,
There's also
no. Is
some
it a Christmas
adult.
song?
Oh, I think, yeah. I mean, to my novice brain, yeah. But I'm assuming it's not.
Thanksgiving. It was actually written for a Thanksgiving concert, and it's originally a Thanksgiving song. There's no mention of Christmas in it at all. It's just a mention of jingling bells and dashing through the snow and winter fun.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
became slowly over time a super popular Christmas song.
But doesn't mention anything about Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving has no songs.
No,
That's been one of these topics of
yeah,
discussion. Like no one
yeah,
has a song for Thanksgiving, but I had no idea. So Jingle Bells is for Thanksgiving. So if
yeah.
I hear you singing Jingle Bells right now, I will throw a turkey in your face and I will tell you go back to Thanksgiving and sing that shit.
A saffron glazed and zedish filled turkey you'll be
Yes,
throwing.
and
Absolutely.
and it would be deep fried hot. And yeah, I'm not responsible. You heard it here first.
There you
Anyway, Christmas spirit. But no, that's
go.
cool. Thanksgiving music. So Jingle Bells was, but does it mention anything Thanksgiving specific in the
I don't know.
lyrics?
It doesn't, not at all, which is why it
I
was
guess
so
it works.
easily kind of
Yeah.
repurposed, I guess
How
you could
shitty
say.
do Thanksgiving people who like invented it like feel right now? They're like, okay, you had one song for us and you can't say like turkey once. Jesus.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
yeah,
hilarious. But then you say Jesus because then you bring it back to Christmas. So that's kind of
yeah.
the fun of it all. So to recap this whole history of Christmas as we know it today, but also like what you mentioned and bringing it back to the Romans and uh, how it became what it became. Um, was it always considered a Christian or a Catholic holiday, or was it adopted by that
Yeah,
over?
absolutely. It was adopted. Yeah, like almost everything else in Christianity, it was appropriated from other religions. Like when you take a look at even the stories, the miracles of Jesus, right?
Yeah,
Uh, so part of what we would do when I was studying religious studies back in the day is we would take an archaeological look at scripture. So kind of go through the descriptions in scripture. Where does this kind of land in the ancient maps of, for example, Jerusalem? And when they talk about, for example, Jesus healing the lepers outside of a particular gate, I think it was the Eastern Gate. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But then when you go and take a look at it, you go, hold on. There was actually a temple there where lepers would go to pray to a specific god for healing. And that's where they say that Jesus went and healed the lepers, right? So to kind of, it's that word association. It's that, up until now, folks, you were believing in this god. Or for example, Bacchus, right? Was a god who would turn water to wine. Well, a lot of that then gets attributed to Jesus. The priests of Bacchus, right, would traditionally do that. Every time they would have a ceremony, they would turn water to wine. Like it was a very thing that they would do during their ceremonies, was turn water to wine. Of course, I'm sure it wasn't, they weren't really turning water to wine. It was all a trick, but that was a part of their ceremony. And then again, the location of where that temple is where Jesus goes to a wedding, and he's an awesome guest because they run out of wine, and someone comes up and says, "Hey, Jesus, we've run out of wine. Come on, Son of God, do something for us." And then he turns water to wine so that they can continue enjoying the festivities. But yeah, there's a lot of stories like that, and it all comes from pre-Christian, right?
Wow. So pre-religion in
even
general,
Easter.
we've had a lot of these miracles, quote unquote. We've had these before these religions who appropriated them, have even been around, which is interesting to me. Like, so yeah, Easter. What about Easter?
It's like it's the appropriate. It's kind of like hummus.
Our
right?
goal is to.
You like hummus. Let's make it ours, right?
Our goal
and
is
then now
to,
everyone's gonna love our hummus too. But yeah, Easter, right? Ishtar. It was the celebration of Esther, Ishtar, but and the resurrection as well. So it was a resurrection story. The symbolism, god of fertility, symbolism was the egg. Eggs were decorated and gifted and given out. Yeah.
Is there similar? So there's some crossovers there, I feel, between Easter and like what we do for Nowruz and what we do like.
It's the same root. It's the same root. Yeah.
Okay,
Babylonian religion is it's absolutely the same root in the same area, and we would do the same thing. And so that Nowruz, that's why Nowruz and Easter are usually very close to each other. The only reason sometimes they aren't is because of a very strange way that they determine when Easter is. But
was it supposed to fall on the first day of spring also?
It was always around that time period. Yeah, absolutely. It was always around that time period. Again, remember, in the ancient world, the solstices and the equinoxes were always really important. Like even when you go to the temple at Chichen Itza in Mexico. So now we're going to go completely on the other side of the world, right?
Wow.
Completely go to the southern hemisphere on the on both the spring, both on the first day of spring and also on the winter solstice, right? A really interesting thing happens, and you can actually go online and watch it. I may just throw the video clip in here for a second for people to see, or at least put it on our page.
Yeah.
The way that they designed the temple is right at the time of, well, the winter equinox or the spring solstice. You see a snake come down the stairs. So from the light, it's a trick of light on the stairs, and it looks like a snake slithering down the temple and into the ground. And it was, and it was built specifically for this purpose, so that you could actually see this phenomenon on these two dates. So those dates and all of those, were incredibly important in the ancient world, and that's why you get a lot of that overlap and parallel and the borrowing from it. And you have to remember that, our culture came from the cradle of civilization. A lot of cultures either passed through there, came from there, shared from there, traded with us, and so you had a lot of that come out.
Man, that's yeah, I love winning. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. No, our goal is to spike our Christian and Catholic followers of this podcast right now, and I don't know if we're doing a good job, but it's fine. We're all about. But you know what's funny is history in itself. If we just look at it, and we go far enough, or hell, just go back to the beginning of humanity, you realize, oh wait, we all came from like the same thing. Like, and then it leads to like wondering why the flippity were even at war, because it's like half the shit we were fighting over is just the lack of ability to look back in history and realize, oh, this was actually we're all actually cousins. Like we're actually not even we're not even.
And why not
like,
be a little bit more forgiving, right? Why not be a little bit more forgiving with this stuff too, and the harshness that we have with each other. Like I find that
yeah,
we all just want to have a good time, and we all just want to love, and we all just want to, like let's
yeah. But we have trust issues. That's part of it, I think.
we have trust issues, and we have different ways of celebrating things, and we have very little, capacity to want to accept others, right?
Uh-huh.
And the way that they do things. Hell, the Japanese celebrate Christmas by eating KFC. Like that's their Christmas meal. Yeah, that's their traditional
Wow.
Christmas meal. Yeah, is KFC. Like we do things differently, and it's beautiful in its own way, right? Would I I definitely wouldn't buy KFC right now because they're on the boycott list. But like, would I enjoy KFC for Christmas? Absolutely not. Is that the way someone else wants to celebrate it? Great. Australians, they celebrate Christmas at the beach. Why? Because they're in a completely different situation. And I know that's weather, and I know that's climate, and I know it's, but it isn't that also what our background and our culture is? Like if we're able to accept those things from others and accept where they come from and the way that they may do things a little bit differently.
And you know what's interesting
I just see it as a good example. Yeah.
But I see it. I also know from some Italians. Well, not some. The customary thing for Italians is on Christmas Eve, they do what Iranians do for Nowruz, which is they make rice and fish, and they have that as the dinner to celebrate Christmas. So I learned about this from Will Sasso, who is of Italian descent, obviously a hilarious comic and comedian, and one of my favorite stars from Matt TV. But he mentioned that, and so they do the and I've heard it from other Italians share that sentiment. Yeah, we would have I think the fish is also specifically salmon, or it might be tilapia. I can't remember if it was tilapia or salmon. But it's like a specific fish that is what they would fry, just like we do, and then they would have that with rice. Now obviously it's probably not sabzi polo, but it's probably something similar.
That's interesting because I have Portuguese family that also do that for Christmas. They have this fish dish that they have. Yeah, that's interesting.
So all of this is just like, it further affirms what you've been saying, that it's like, oh, there has to be some sort of trade that happened at one point in history between these cultures, right? And it's like,
like what, probably one of your favorite customs for Christmas, kissing under the mistletoe. Tell me that's not great as a single guy to be able to, borderline sexually harass people and ask for kisses just because they're standing under a branch.
Yeah, I got dumped under the mistletoe once. That was fun.
No way. That's horrible.
It was just like, I went in, and we went in for different reasons. She went in to say it's over, and I went in for a kiss. It ended up being a little bit awkward, but we settled at a Persian kiss, and that was fine. It
was a goodbye kiss.
Yeah. I laughed. I was like, I was over this anyway. And then the other years, it was a lot of times it was just my aunts, and that was kind of weird. So I just didn't go under the mistletoe. That's cool. Yeah, my family has they're very good at ruining what is supposed to be a fun memory. And I know the audience and you didn't expect those stories to come from me. Also, I wasn't that cute when I was younger, so it was not helpful. There's been some work done. Yeah, I think I've aged well, gracefully, but also there's a minor works done because Iranians, we tend to need some souping up of our faces. But yeah, it was. What about you? Did you have any mistletoe stories?
Well, yeah, just the origin of it. Right, it's a Norse.
Okay, tell me. Yeah.
No, it was a Norse culture. It's from Norse mythology, right? So we owe this to the Vikings. And there was a Norse goddess, Frigg, who she was the goddess of love, and she made a promise to mankind that if they ever pass under the branches of a mistletoe tree, right, that she'll give them a kiss. Um, and so it was really the goddess kissing you as you pass under that tree. But in the 18th century, it kind of came into British society, in England, and it became this tradition of hanging mistletoe and then kissing under the tree. But yeah, it's a Viking thing. It's a Viking
Wow.
thing.
You would think that, between Vikings just eating like turkey legs and being savages, they had such a sweet little moment like that. That's interesting.
And another Viking connection for Christmas, and there's lots. There's a ton.
Yeah.
One of the original names that Robert May wanted to name Rudolph, so Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
He was choosing between three names for Rudolph. One was Rudolph, obviously. Reginald, which I think would have just been absolutely hilarious. I think Reginald would have been amazing. I'm just imagining like a Pixar cartoon with Reginald the Red-Nosed
Yeah.
Reindeer right now.
The song would be very different, but yeah.
It would be a very different song, right? Absolutely. And I imagine like Eddie Murphy voicing Reginald
Oh God, yeah.
the
I
Red-Nosed
could see that.
Reindeer,
Yeah.
right? Like Donkey from Shrek. Anyways, Rollo, which
Okay.
again was he was a Viking conqueror of Paris, who ended up becoming a prince in France or whatever. But yeah, so there's another Norse connection. It would have been Rollo the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Did you watch the show The Vikings, that series?
No, I haven't.
No? Oh God, you
No.
should.
I don't even
pretty,
have a TV right now, but it's fine. I'll watch it, but it's good, huh? Where's that on?
It's from the History Channel here, but
Oh.
you can watch it on Netflix. You can,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I'll look into that. That's like I'll add it to my list of like 20 things I need to watch. But it's yeah, I'm sure that the Viking history that's passed around easily throughout society is probably also not as accurate as like how I just said with the turkey legs and all that. But I'm sure they had more, somber moments as well. It wasn't like they were just
Yeah.
savages. I don't know. I don't know the details of that.
They do say that we have a very two-dimensional view of what their culture was. And they're finding a lot of really beautiful art and artifacts coming from there. And they also traded a lot as well. And people don't realize that they actually did have a lot of trade. Something caught my eye a little while ago, a couple of years ago, where they had uncovered a burial mound. And there was textiles from the Middle East and even Persian inscriptions on clothing that,
Wow.
for example, one warrior had a sash or something that he had picked up. So there was a lot of trade going on. There was a lot of exchanges like that. It wasn't all just, turkey legs and smashing battle
R-
axes in people's heads. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
although that looked fun. But yeah, it's that's good. I'm glad. But I think the moral of today's episode is that we are all a lot more alike than we are different. So why don't we celebrate that? And especially during these times of the year. I have a song. It's a pretty common song. Most people know it. Actually, I think everyone knows it, but it it goes a little bit like this because it's appropriate. But it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look in the 5 and 10, glistening once again, with candy canes and silver bells aglow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store. But the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. Here's the fast part. A pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots the is Mr. Barney and Ben. I cannot read. And then it goes, dolls that will talk and will go walk with the hope of Janice and Jen. I'm going to ask you about these names in a second. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait till school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, there's a tree in the Grand Hotel, one in the park as well. It's the sturdy kind that doesn't mind the snow. Last verse. It's the longest song I'm going to sing for this episode. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the things that will make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart. Yeah, man. That's a fun one. I like that one. You muted yourself. I love it.
Oh, sorry. I mute myself when you're singing because I don't want any background noise to.
Oh, that's so kind. So people could hear all of my mess ups live and in living color.
And confirm that we actually do not rehearse, right? That's the other thing that we wanted to make sure.
Yeah. I literally woke up an hour ago. Fun fact, I last night, as of the recording of this podcast, I was in the car with a fellow comic who I'm doing another podcast with later today. Jason Acevedo. He's hilarious. Anyone who enjoys comedy, please follow him on Instagram. I believe his Instagram name is Jason Avocado. And man, I cannot keep a straight face with this guy. He is just, not only is he hilarious, and I know this is on a tangent, but I needed to say this. Not only is he like stomach hurting, laughing out loud hilarious, he's such a good person. And I feel like if there's something to be thankful for, obviously yourself, a lot of good friends I found over this past year in 2023. I gotta add him in there because he's been an amazing mentor to me. He's a vet in comedy. He's taking me kind of under his shoulder, kind of teaching me the ropes of what it will look like in like 10 years and 5 years. And he's like, aside from all of that, he's just a good friend. He's just very
Nice.
yeah, he's a very sweet person, and yeah, he's a very animated person. Follow him, Jason Avocado. There'll be an episode of Legend of Wrestling podcast coming out with him as well. So keep an eye out for that. Cross promotion over here, baby. Or as the Iron Sheik says, PBS podcast, which is the name of this one, TBA. He does that because, well, that's how the Sheik was, and that's why we celebrate him. Rest in peace, Sheik. But yeah, man,
you can bring people like that onto this podcast as well. I won't scare them off. I promise. I won't. I
think they'll scare you off. It's just, it's a little bit my other personality, the multiple personalities that I have.
Yeah. So did you know the song? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Canadian. Well, written while the writer was in Canada, I should say.
So who's the writer?
Meredith Wilson.
Okay.
And that's actually a gentleman, Meredith. And he wrote this song while he was staying in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia at the Grand Hotel. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, like looking outside at that part of the world where you are, and it's looking like Christmas. And Christmas is defined here in the West as blistering cold snow, and that makes sense. I'll let you guys have that one. That's fine. You guys can have that one. Yeah. Because the narrative just changed, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, Canada's great. I think Santa's from there somewhere. But yeah,
Santa has a Canadian postal code. So
no way.
Yeah, so you can send letters to Santa here, and it's got a Canadian postal code, and the postal code is because the postal codes here are letter number, letter number, letter number. So
Yeah.
it's H0H0H0. So ho ho ho.
Oh,
And
I see what you did there.
he's at one Santa Claus named North Pole, but like you can literally send letters and you get a response back. So if kids want to send a letter to Santa, they'll actually get a letter back from him when they send it. It'll
And
come with a Canadian postmark.
Notice, listeners and viewers of this podcast, when he said him, he pointed at himself. So, you've been ruining kids' dreams for 35 years. That's great. No,
Were you responding with a letter? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, like it's been you
No.
responding.
It's actually Canada Post does it. No. Like the postal service in Canada actually takes the time to read through these letters, fill in what the kids wanted, and pick up some personal anecdotes and then put it back. I'm sure it's all done with AI now, but yeah, this has been going on for decades.
We have kid viewers. They believe in Santa, man. Don't say AI.
Absolutely.
No, Santa's real, guys. Santa's real.
Well, I tell my daughter, Santa's only real as long as you believe in him. So
is that the same with Boba Noel?
It's the same with most religion, actually. It's only real as long as you believe in it. That's what I always love, that threat that there is, and in Islam it's I think a harsher threat than most religions, but in all religions it's there. If you leave the religion, then this is it's like, dude, I'm leaving the religion, which means I absolutely don't believe in this bullshit. So
yeah,
you're not. It's not a really good threat. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It doesn't work that well.
Yeah, and that's funny because the Baha'i version of that is just so passive. It's like, no, take them all. We believe in everything, and it's like, yo, if you want to be Jewish, please go ahead. If you want to, we're all the same. And it's just like passively saying like, you're all part of Baha'i religion. It's like, dude, that's kind of more annoying a little bit. But
we're all a part of this religion. We just do it better. That's really what.
But isn't that every religion that comes? It's like, wait, remember that last one? We've upgraded. The firewall is updated now. Better protection mechanism. Except, the version of Islam that's practiced in government. That's kind of a little bit about 3,000 years old. But
they need to roll back that update. That's for sure.
They have a virus. But dude, what an episode! I'm happy with this. What do you got going on for New Year's? I mean, we're going to try to record another one before New Year's. But,
absolutely, we will. But it's just going to be sticking around here. Maybe go visit, do a couple day trips down the East Coast. You know those little towns in Connecticut and New Hampshire, the little Christmas towns where they film all the Hallmark Christmas movies. We just kind of thought it'd be cute to do something like that. Maybe take the train down to New York.
Fun. Say hi to Shaheen in Connecticut. That's where he's at right now.
Is that where he is right now?
Yeah. His family's.
It was his birthday a while ago too. It was your birthday earlier this month.
That's right. Happy birthday, Shaheen. December 16th. He just celebrated.
That's my daughter's birthday too. Yeah.
Nice. Happy birthday to your daughter. That's great. Happy birthday to you? Myself. To thank you. Yeah, myself. I was December 9th. My other friend in comedy, Pratik, happy birthday to you, man. His birthday was December 2nd. I'm trying to remember all the birthdays. Ashley Zara, her birthday's today, actually, at the time of this recording. So happy birthday, Ashley. And of course, I talked about him earlier. Jason's birthday is on the 29th, December 29th. So naming all of the people that have been discussed. Good friends of mine. When is your birthday?
My birthday is in May.
Oh yeah,
May 12th.
May 12th, Mother's Day here in the States. That's
every 4 years it falls on Mother's Day.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a special episode for that when it comes around.
Right on.
But yeah, guys.
I do have a request, and I want you to play us out. Here's what I want you to do.
Okay. Do you have a song?
It is, this is the most religious Christmassy song that I can stomach, but I just love it. And it's The Little Drummer Boy. And I just think you would look adorable singing this song. And so I think that's the one I'm going to request.
All right. Well, cool. The beautiful part about this song is there's very little other instruments in it other than drums, but I'm going to attempt. No, there's actually there's a lot of great covers of the song. I don't know if you know the version with David Bowie. Have you heard that version?
I have. I have.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that version. That's a really good one. And I think they mesh that with ba-da-ba-bum-bum. And then they do another Christmas song that they put together. I can't remember which
Yeah.
song that was, but it's really well done.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool remakes and renditions of that song.
Yeah, man. So happy holidays to everyone as I play this song out. And we appreciate all of the followers we've gotten from TBA Podcast. 2023 was not an easy year, to put it mildly. There's been a lot of tests for a lot of us. We've been all going through our own hardships. We thought COVID was bad, and then now we got 2023. But you know what? There was a lot that we learned as well. I think as much as there's a lot of differences being shared out there, there's also a realization that's starting to come to light, and that is that we're all human beings, and it was a good reminder. And I think we have to approach 2024 with love, and I'm excited for that. And I love you, brother. Thank you for doing this
Love you too,
podcast with me, man. But yeah, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say it's incredibly appropriate that we're recording this tonight on Yalda.
Yes.
The festivals of light. I remember I was saying this earlier to you today, that we've had a lot of darkness. We've had 2 or 3 years of really dark times. It was the pandemic. It was, well, the entire Trump presidency was pretty dark, but and then we had, the last couple of years, the last year and a half in Iran, the last 2.5 months in Palestine, the Ukraine, what's happening in Syria, what's been going on for decades in the Congo, we are surrounded by darkness. And on a night like tonight, where we're celebrating the light, I just hope that there's a break in it. And I wish that light and joy and happiness for everyone who's listening, and even those people who are too good to listen. I still wish you the same. So have a great 2024, everyone.
Come, they told me, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, a newborn king to see, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam. Our finest gifts we bring, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, to lay before the king, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, ra-pa-pam-pam, ra-pa-pam-pam. So to honor him, pa-ra-pa-pam-pam, when we come. Merry Christmas, everyone.